Today we're going to be looking at solving problems with rational exponents. Another way we could look at this learning target for today is I can solve problems with rational or fraction or decimal exponents. The ones we're going to be focusing on though are exponents that involve fractions. All right, so let's go through the examples. The first example is I have 2 to the power of 0.5 times 2 to the power of 1/4. Now, I have one of them that is being expressed as a decimal. So one of my exponents is being expressed as a decimal, whereas my other exponent is being expressed as a fraction. Notice how the base is the same, which means that we can use our exponent laws. So the exponent law that we want to use here is my power of a product. Or, sorry, not my power product, my product of powers. So this is the first one we looked at, product of powers. Now, remember with product of powers, when I have the same base, I can combine my exponents by adding them. So this becomes 0.5 plus 1/4. Now you're looking at this and there's two different forms of numbers here. We're working with decimals and fractions. So what we need to do is convert one of these to either a decimal or convert this one to a fraction. Now, if you have 0.5 of something, remember 0.5 can be rewritten as, and I'm just going to write as an aside here, 0.5 can be written as 50 over 100 or 1/2. So I can express this as 2 to the power of 1/2 plus 1/4. Now, we could run into another problem. We're combining fractions. Remember, in order to combine fractions, we need to be establishing a common denominator. So if I have 1/2 plus 1/4, then my common denominator here between the 2 and the 4 is going to be 4. And so in order to make my common denominator equal, I have to multiply this by 2. So multiply by 2 on the top and on the bottom. That would give me 2/4 plus 1/4, which is equal to 3/4. Now, a question like this with these types of decimals, you should be beginning to know that if you add a half to a quarter, you're going to have 3/4. But if not, and you have to go through that process, it's totally fine. So I'm gonna write it out the long way. So 1/2 we converted to 2/4 plus 1/4 is equal to 2 3/4. We're going to come back to working with these rational numbers later on, where we would want to know what is the actual value of this. But for today, we're just working with simplifying our rational numbers. So this would be our final answer, 2 to the power of 3/4. That being said, we could rewrite this as 2 to the power of 0.75, but it's good to know both ways. Next example we're going to look at involves our quotient law, our quotient of powers. So again, I have the same base of x. Our quotient of powers tells us that if we have the same base, different exponents, then we work to combine the base and subtract the exponents. So this becomes 2 to the power of 3 subtract 3/5. Now Now, just like we did last time, we were working with the last example of combining our exponents. Now we have a subtraction sign. We're subtracting exponents, which means we have to take the same approach and we need to simplify those exponents. And so in simplifying the exponents, 2/3 subtract 3/5. This is where it'll be really helpful to have some common denominators. So if I were to find a common denominator between 3 and 5, I have to think about the numbers that both 3 and 5 go into. And in this case, it's going to be 15, which means in order to find a common denominator here, I have to multiply my numerator and my denominator by 5, which would then give me 10 over 15. Subtract multiplying both of these by 3 in order to give me 9 over 15. That gives me a total of 1 over 15. So if I'm working with x 2/3 minus 3/5, this becomes x to the power of 10 over 15 subtract 9 over 15, which is x to the power of 1 over 15. And this would be my final answer. Questions that you're going to be looking at are going to be involving variables as well as whole numbers like we were looking at. When we're working with fractional exponents or rational exponents, remember that all your rational laws apply. So if you're dividing exponents or multiplying exponents, fractions, remember what that entails. And so our learning target for today was I can solve problems with rational or fraction exponents.